Coming to you a little bit late today. Had a conflicting appointment, but no big deal. We're here, and we're going to start episode 53. This is the 53rd time I've streamed an episode here on Twitch. Today, I thought we would look at some PHP, of all things. I do a lot of .NET on here, but it's actually, here's a little trivia about me. I used to write a lot of PHP. Back in the day. Haven't done a lot recently. Something I've been trying to get back into this year. I've been watching some Pluralsight videos. But there's some news today about Symphony, and it makes me want to look into Symphony. I've never actually used it, so I'm going to check it out today. And we're going to do that with a couple of supporting tools, XAMPP and Visual Studio Code. So we'll get into those today, and we'll struggle through it probably. I'll struggle through it because I'm a little rusty with the PHP. The language itself, the syntax, I'm a little bit familiar with. But there's things around the ecosystem that are relatively new to me, so we'll struggle through that today. So if you're a PHP developer hanging out in the chat, I definitely appreciate if you could point me in the right direction when I'm stuck somewhere. All right, and speaking of chat, the only stupid question is the one you do not ask. That is my motto here. This is a beginner-friendly channel. If you think of a question, you say, "Oh, I'm not going to ask that. That's too stupid." Don't ask the question. Just please. That's how we learn is asking questions. So this is a safe place to ask them. So ask away. All right, let's do some plugs here. Team Live Coders on Twitch. Let's see who's streaming right now. I think Fritz is streaming right now. So certainly there he is on the top of the list. 81. Pixelogic Dev. Copper Beardy, a lot of other people here. So this will be kind of a shortened stream. Oh, I see a null reference exception. Love the null reference exceptions. Anyway, we'll go and raid someone. This will be a shorter stream today because I do have a stop for lunch coming up soon. But we'll raid one of these channels here if they're still streaming later today. But this is a team of live coders on Twitch. If you're familiar with Twitch teams, this is a bunch of people who are doing live coding. And different time zones, different topics. Great stuff. Oh, gosh, look at that font. That must be, someone must have, I don't even know. Okay. All right, an awesome developer streaming list. This is another resource for you to find streamers. GitHub/BNB/awesome developer streams. It has not been updated since December, but there's a list of people here, all the topics. So here's Calvin, one of my closest developer friends here, Calvin Allen. He's based here in Ohio with me. We used to be co-workers, and he has a stream. But you can see this gives you the link to where they're streaming and what they're streaming about, and you can get a whole list of people here. So do Control F and find some interesting streams to check out. You can see my old videos here that they're saved to Twitch, but they do eventually go to YouTube, so bit.ly/GrovesTube. This may be changing soon. I may start using the official Couchbase YouTube channel, or maybe we'll do both. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Thinking about, my employer says that they'd like to see my videos on the official Couchbase channel, which is awesome. Just got to figure out how I'm going to actually. Oh, hang on. Got to figure out how I'm actually going to do the logistics of that. So things about like chat and oh gosh, my green screen is not being very good today. Let's see if that helps a little bit. All right. So go there, check it out bit.ly/GrovesTube. Check out some old videos there, some old clips as well. Whenever there's a nice little clip I can extract, because not everyone wants to sit through an hour, 2-hour video or skim through an hour video. What up, Calvin Allen, joining the chat today. What are you, homesick or something? Great to see you. I was just talking about you in the awesome developer streaming list. Calvin Allen in the house. Twitchbot is off though. Otherwise, that would have triggered a nice little video for Calvin Allen, the fanfare thing. Having some technical difficulties with the Twitch chatbot. So, I mean, actually, a quick update on this. Some Docker problems, some Visual Studio problems. You hooked up your Mac to your iPad LTE so you can get around the firewall. Muahaha. Oh, gosh. So apparently they blocked Twitch at Calvin's office because I assume they don't want people just watching Fortnite videos all day. But Calvin's actually doing something, related to his job, checking out live streaming. So thanks for tuning in, Calvin. It's great to see you again. It's not been the same without you here. So anyway, the Visual Studio thing, I got on a stream actually, Calvin. You probably know this guy, Chase Oakline, last night doing some pair programming, and it seemed to work just fine for him with my exact source code. So what we came to the conclusion is something's gunked up with my Visual Studio installation. We don't really have any idea what it is. So that's my next step, is to blow away Visual Studio. And actually, I've been meaning to kind of reinstall Windows on this machine. It's been a while. It's been 3+ years. And just kind of clear out the cruft with a fresh install. But that's a tall order. That's a lot of work. So we'll see. But that's maybe I'll start Visual Studio and then blow away Windows after that and see how it goes. Anyway, the bot is not working. I got some events coming up. Going to be a lot of events for me this year, it looks like, which is fine. I love doing events. I love going to events. Developer Week is the next one. I will be in the Oakland Convention Center for Developer Week, February 12th and 13th, I believe, at the Couchbase booth. And I'll be giving a short, 25-minute presentation as well. So definitely check out Developer Week if you're in the Bay Area. Looks like a great conference. At the same time, I will be doing a JetBrains online webinar. That's 10 a.m. Eastern Time, which is 7 a.m. Western Time. So it shouldn't interfere with Developer Week too much. But if you're interested in that, go check out the JetBrains Twitter account or the JetBrains website for upcoming webinars. I will be talking about background tasks with Hangfire, which is a topic we've covered in this stream before. So definitely check that out. You'll see the official slide deck demo presentation stuff. And then the last one I'll talk about is DevNexus, which is coming up right after that. It's a sort of Java-leaning community tech conference based in Atlanta. So I will be there. I will be back in DevNexus for the first time in a year or two. So if you're going to be in the Atlanta area, if you're going to be in the Oakland area, if you're going to be near a computer, you got all these different events you can check out. And there's even more after that. As you can see, this list is going to keep growing and growing and growing. It's going to be a busy year for yours truly. Today, got some news. Let's see if I can find it. If you're not familiar with PHP, there is a web framework called Symphony. And it's spelled like this, Symfony. And I don't think I've used Symphony anytime when I've used PHP in the past. There's lots of different frameworks, and it's just one I never actually got around to using. But it's one that is, very widely adopted. It's been used by a lot of people, and it's still being used. It's been around for a while. And just today, there was a merge request that's been hanging around for a while, since June, to add Couchbase as a cache adapter to Symfony. And just today, it was merged. So it is, I don't know if it's part of the release yet, but it's actually merged into the Symfony code base. So anybody out there using PHP, using Symfony framework, you now have a built-in way to use Couchbase as your caching tool of choice. So that is awesome. And I thought we could celebrate by digging into some PHP today. It's something I've been watching some Pluralsight for this year, just trying to get back up to speed on PHP and some of the tools and techniques and things like that, and try to shake off some of that rust and try to help some PHP developers. I'm going to that PHP conference later this year. I won't be talking about PHP specific things, but it would be nice if I understood some of, get up to date on some of the PHP world in preparation for that conference. So that's what I thought we'd do today. We'd walk through like an example of Symfony. We may not get to using Couchbase as a cache adapter. That's probably asking a lot for someone who's brand new to Symfony to just go right to that. But I thought we would just try to get up and running, get started with it, and see how it works. So first of all, that I don't need to be on the screen. That was from my conflict today. So ignore that. But what I've got is, let's see if I can bring it up here, something called XAMPP. And where is it? XAMPP. It didn't really add a shortcut for whatever reason. Okay, XAMPP control. There we go. So XAMPP is it's like an all-in-one developer toolbox for PHP or Perl, but mostly PHP, I guess, development. And it's a Windows sort of toolkit that allows you to start up Apache, to start up MySQL, which is a database that is used by a lot of PHP developers in WordPress, for instance. It allows you to spin up PHP running on Apache. And so we're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to start up Apache. I don't plan to use MySQL today, but you can see I've got a, oh, and I've also got, I don't know if I can remember what it is, a host file set up for this. And if you're not familiar with hosts, this is in, so if we look here, there's a host file this is something that comes with Windows, and you can add these little names. So anything that binds to localhost or 127.0.0.1, this name will be bound to that. So this is kind of an alias for that. But then I can turn around and inside the Apache setup say, oh, if the incoming host is this, then direct it to whatever. What I've got over here, and I think this will work, is 8088. And there we go. So I was working with some Laravel. This was sort of I was following along a Pluralsight video on Laravel. I was creating this blog page. It's not really fleshed out, but so I want to do something similar. I think I want to do something similar with Symphony. So let's bring up the XAMPP folder here. And inside that is a folder called, if I can remember this, I think it's under, no, it's under HT docs. So you can see here I've got hello Laravel, and I've got hello, and dashboard and things like that. So I think if I bring up, no, that's not it. So I'm trying to remember where. Yeah, sorry, Egatha, the bot is down right now. The current project, however, is we're looking at trying to basically do a little bit of Symphony, just like a hello world. It's a framework I've not used in the past. I have done some PHP, but I've not used Symphony before. So that's where we're at right now. So if the bot was working, it would give you that link, symfony.com. But hey, thanks for stopping in, Egatha. Good to see you. And if you have questions about what's going on, or if you're a PHP developer and you can point me in the right direction, feel free to throw a message there in the chat. This is a very interactive type of stream. But I'm trying to figure out, and it's been a while, it's been like a few weeks since I've been in on this. Where do I actually configure the port number or the location of Laravel? It brings us up in, let's see. I'm trying to remember this. So it might be up here in, does PHP have a package manager these days? Good question, Calvin. Yes, is the answer. That is one of the things I remember back in the day with PHP. There's been a package manager for a long time. I can't remember what the old one is called. It's still around, but it was kind of wonky at the time, especially if you're on Windows like me. But the newer one, I guess, I don't know how new you consider new, is called Composer. So that is the popular PHP package manager. The other one, the old one, maybe you remember the name of it, Calvin. I think it started with a P or something, and it was kind of like a package manager sort of thing, but it was a little wonky, and I had problems with it. You never used anything. Okay, well, I think that's probably a common situation as well. Well, gosh, I don't remember. Is it in here somewhere? No. It's got to be one of these Apache config files, I think. Was it in here? No. Original. Extra crispy. Oh, I'm not going to remember. Okay, but anyway, let's go through some Symfony documentation. Maybe it will help us, point us in the right direction. So I am completely going into this blind about Symfony. I understand it's a web framework, and it has a bunch of components. So it's kind of like a combination of .NET and ASP.NET. Now PHP, of course, has a bunch of framework level components as well, but Symfony adds this sort of collection on top of that. So yeah, 50 components. So let's just get started. Let's see if we can do a simple hello world type thing. So yeah, here we go. So here's Composer. I was mentioning this. So I have PHP, I think 7.2.5 or later is installed. I wonder if I can just try that from the command line. I have 7.4.1. Okay, so yeah, 7.2.5 or higher, so that should work. And these PHP extensions, which are installed by default in most PHP 7 installations. Okay, I'm going to assume that those are installed. Hopefully. Otherwise, that's kind of a lot of work to install all those things. Composer, I think I do have Composer installed already as well. Let's see if this works. Not version. Yep, there's Composer. And then Symfony. So I don't have Symfony installed. This is a download. Okay, so I'll download a setup file. And we'll see what happens. Okay, yeah, sure, that's fine. So this is a little different than the Laravel installation. Laravel installation was completely command line driven. This is kind of interesting. Add application directly to your system path. Yes, I think I do want to do that. Okay, so here we go. We're installing Symfony. I'm an Austrian nobleman commissioning a symphony in C. Okay. All right, so I guess that's installed. And Symfony binary provides a tool to check if your computer meets these requirements. Oh, that's nice. So it'll see if I have all those packages and stuff there. Symfony, this might not work. I may have to restart the command line. Okay, so let's see if I can just do that. Term Symfony is not recognized. So let's try completely restarting Windows Terminal. Okay, there we go. It just had to add to the path. Windows Terminal had to find that. Okay, checking Symfony requirements. I don't know what those W's mean, but it says okay. Optional recommendations to improve your setup. Intel extension, PHP Accelerator. PHP Accelerator may be like a compiled PHP sort of thing. That's not super important for me as a developer. Real path cache size should be at least 5 meg. Okay, I'm not too worried about that. Post max size, yeah, that's not a big deal. I don't plan to upload a lot of files right now. It's good things to know, though. Okay, creating Symfony applications. Open your console terminal, okay, and run any of these commands to create a new Symfony application. The only difference between these commands is the number of packages installed by default. The full option installs all packages that you usually need to build web applications, so the installation size will be bigger. If you can't or don't want to install Symfony for any reason, or I did that, you can create a project using Composer too. I already did install Symfony, so we can skip over that. No matter which command you run to create the Symfony application, all of them will create a new My Project name directory. Okay, so that's good to know. Download dependencies and generate the basic directories and get you started. Otherwise, your application ready. Okay, so let's not go with the, traditional web application versus microservice. Let's go with the full. Let's just see what that happens. And we're going to call this, I don't know, my Twitch spike. You heard the term spike before? It's just kind of a term that I don't know if people still use, but the idea is before you decide whether to use a technique or a piece of software, you do a spike, which is kind of a exploration project that you intend to throw away, right? It's not quite a prototype, but it's like how hard is it to get to use this particular library or framework or database or whatever. So you do a spike. I don't know if that's a term that people still use these days, but I still use it, so I'm calling it spike. This is taking some time. Calvin says, "Oh yeah," because you still use the term spike. Or because you're the Kool-Aid man. Yep, all the time. Okay, so at least there's two of us who use the term spike. All right. Your project is now ready in CZproj MySpike. So this may have been a mistake on my part because now the application is here, and I think I want it to be in the Apache. But let's see where are we going for here. Okay. On production, you should use a web server like Nginx or Apache. Yep, but for development, it's more convenient to use a local web server provided by Symfony. Okay. I don't even need XAMPP, it sounds like. Because I'm not using MySQL, I'm not using Apache, I'm using a local web server, the Symphony Server. Okay, well that's kind of handy. I'm really liking this already. Got some handy stuff built in. Oh wow, that's dope. That takes out the complexity, I remember. If you're like me, Calvin, you were, with the PHP world, it was just like, there were these nice sort of frameworks out there, and then there's WordPress, and then there's everything else, which is just like a Wild West of embedded, mixed up PHP, JavaScript type stuff. Anywho, actually, I think one of the versions of EasyRep was written in PHP, and it was Wild West PHP with no composer, no framework, anything like that. So I'm not exactly blameless in this world either. But, that's one of the two-edged sword, the double-edged sword of PHP, right? It is super easy to get started, and it's super easy to get started. So that's going to give you a big base of people who are using PHP, but it's also give you a lot of people who are maybe not writing, code that's good for long-term maintenance. All right. But this, using a framework like Symfony is going to go a long way to helping that, I think. All right. Okay. Server provides support for HTTP2, TLS. Let me zoom in a little bit. It's a little small. Automatic generation of security certificates. That's super nice. And many other features. It works with any PHP application, not only Symfony projects. Very nice. Very useful development tool. Yeah, I would agree. Open your console terminal, move into your new project directory, and start the local web server as follows. Symphony Server start. Okay, it's asking me for firewall access, and I'm saying okay, that's fine. It's off screen right now. The PHP version of EasyRep was the one I took over from you, then launched your .NET version. Oh, that's right. That's right. I assume that PHP version is now completely decommissioned. At least I hope so. Okay, so it's on 8,000. It is gone. Okay, hopefully I don't have a port conflict with 8,000. Look at that. We're on Symfony. You're seeing this because you haven't configured any homepage URL. That PHP version, it wasn't the best code. It didn't really have any tests, for one. It didn't really use any sort of object-oriented programming. But you know what? It was pretty functional, and it got the job done. It got some revenue in. So I'm not going to completely say it was terrible, but it definitely left a lot to be desired. Anywho, we're working a real framework right now. We're working in Symfony, and we're all ready to go. This is really nice. So let's go back to this tutorial here. You will also work on projects already created by other developers. Sure. Okay. Install dependencies with the composer. So this is how you do it with Git. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Customize your env file. Do project-specific tasks. What does this do? I'll just see what it does. Open another tab here. PHP bin console about. Oh, I gotta do that in the actual folder. No, that's not what I want. Twitch is my Twitch, right? Yeah. PHP bin console about. So this tells me all kinds of environmental things, like which version of Symphony, something about the kernel, which version of PHP, some environment variables. So hopefully the secrets don't do anything. Database URL. Did this also spin up a MySQL instance? That seems unlikely, but we could try it. We're going to. Oh, I've got an old version. Well, mildly old version of HeidiSQL, but let's try a Symphony. And it is. You need to get Rider, bro. Listen, bro. That JetBrains webinar that I'm doing, I will be doing it in Rider. Data grip. Oh, I need to use data grip. I like HeidiSQL. I've been using HeidiSQL for a long time. Anywho, let's see. This is actually going to give us anything? DB password 3306. Yeah, it's not connecting, so I don't know what that is. This might be the default database URL if I had MySQL up and running. I don't know who Heidi is, but she sounds lovely. Yes, HeidiSQL. It's a tool for MySQL, Postgres, maybe Maria, some other database tools. Anywho, I never use DataGrip. It might be, hugely better. And knowing JetBrains, it probably is, right? HeidiSQL is an open source project, been around for a while. Okay, installing packages. A common practice when developing Symfony is to install packages. Symfony calls them bundles. Provide ready-to-use features. Okay, most of the time this can be automated. Symphony Flex. This is a tool to manage packages. Technically speaking, it's a composer plugin. DCRPTR. Thank you for joining us. I started using DataGrip recently for SQLite. Not bad. Yeah, I think HeidiSQL also does SQLite. But that's interesting. And how am I supposed to pronounce your name? DCRPTR? Deeser Pointer? Anyway, thanks for joining us. Maybe DataGrip, something we'll check out here in the future. That's something, I don't think it supports Couchbase or any NoSQL for that matter, but it's still worth checking out. Okay, let's see, what else? I had to find something for work where we have Postgres and MySQL. At first, I had both pgadmin and MySQL Workbench, and it had to go. I need to update my nick. I don't know, I think it's interesting. Just, you need a pronunciation guide for your nick. Decryptor, okay. Decryptor. Yeah, that's not bad. It kind of sounds like a hacker from the movie Hackers. Like, I'm zero cool. I'm Decryptor. I don't mean to insult you, because I think Hackers is a cool movie. Anywho, what else we got? So Composer. So this Flex kind of uses Composer, is what I'm seeing here. Provide advanced features. DataGrip has a driver for MongoDB. Aw, man. Need to get one for Couchbase. If it can support Mongo, it can certainly support Couchbase. I don't see why not. But I assume it's not open source. It's not like I could write one. Okay, I don't know if I need to get into this packages stuff just yet. Maybe. Security vulnerabilities, that's pretty cool. If they have known vulnerabilities, okay. LTS versions, yep, fine. Demo application is a fully functional application that shows the recommended way to develop Symfony applications. It's a great learning tool. Okay, let's skip on to create your first page in Symfony. Creating a page. I skipped over this intro here. Okay, creating a route and a controller. All right, this kind of makes sense. So it seems like it's probably an MVC model. Maybe. Okay, controller is a PHP function that builds the page, take incoming requests, use it to create a Symfony response object, which can hold all kinds of stuff. HTML, JSON, or binary. Okay. Do you prefer video tutorials? I like video tutorials, but we're not going to watch one on the stream here. Request response lifecycle. So they haven't mentioned MVC yet, but let's see. We'll see how we go here. Okay, we can still access Symfony in the browser. Yes. Suppose you want to create a page /lucky/number that generates a lucky, random number and prints it. To do that, create a controller class and a controller method inside of it. Okay, so let's open up Visual Studio Code. And I'm just going to copy this part here. Source controller lucky controller PHP. So source controller, and I'll create a new file called lucky controller.php, and we'll throw that in there. Okay, and it's interesting. This is returning HTML directly with this response function. I'm not sure if I'm a fan of that, but I'm guessing that's just for getting people started. Hopefully there's a templating engine there. Now you need to associate this controller function with a public URL, like /lucky/number. Okay, makes sense. So look at the YAML file. Okay, well, this is the first thing I'm not super stoked about, but YAML seems to be something that the people like these days. So config routes, and in there, it's just config routes YAML. There we go. Okay. Right. So I'll just paste the whole thing in there. Don't necessarily need that part. That's just telling me where the file is. Okay. So this is saying here's the path. If you go to /lucky/number, it will go to this controller and this method in the controller, or this function, I guess is what they're called in PHP. Although a function of an object is a method. All right. So I don't know. I'm going to use method and function almost interchangeably. Let's deal with it. Okay, and that's it. If you're using Symfony Web Server, notice I didn't have to compile or anything because PHP is not a compiled language, at least by default. It should work. And there we go. Lucky number 54. Beautiful. Look at all these stats down here. This is interesting. Well, I refreshed. Oh, they're back. Huh. Okay. Nifty. Cache calls 4. Render time. What's with the cache calls? It's caching something. Okay. All right. Where are we? Back to our... Okay. Annotation routes. So instead of defining a route in YAML, Symfony also allows you to use annotation routes. Hey, Bhaskar. Hola to you as well. That's Spanish for hello. What's going on, Bhaskar? Thank you for joining us. Still having trouble with that Docker issue, Bhaskar. My strategy at this point is scorched earth policy and blow away at least Visual Studio, perhaps blow away all of Windows and start over from scratch. Fortunately, I think everything that I care about is stored in the cloud somewhere. I think I can probably do that, but I'm not going to do it impulsively. How about the Hanselman post on Docker tools? I haven't seen that one, Bhaskar. But I spent some time with Chase Oakwine last night, and it seemed to work fine for him, and it seemed to work fine for me outside of Visual Studio. So we suspect it's a Visual Studio issue. Kind of wish we had streamed that last night, that little pairing session, but I didn't think about it. Anywho, I like the idea of annotation routes better. I like these in C# and .NET, but I have to install a package. Okay. Which, that's fine. I'll install a package. I'm not anti-package. Composer, require, annotations. Is this going to work? Do I have to do something else first? This is kind of like the equivalent of NuGet or NPM, but with PHP. It's a composer. Okay, I did all that. Now I can add my route directly above the controller. So I've got this use statement here. Is this supposed to be like a diff? I gotta add a use. So this is something I'm not familiar with from PHP. There's a use right there. Okay. When Calvin is here, I have to be here. I mean, it's must see streaming, right? When Calvin's in the house. Calvin's got some sort of hacked together system to get around the blockers at the office he has to drive to now. Calvin is writing Xamarin at the moment. Cool. I just started losing my voice. I guess. That's cool. Some cool Xamarin stuff. You expect to be approached about LTE data caps. I have unlimited data with my provider, although I don't think I have any tethering capability. I don't know. I don't have tried it in a while. Yeah, Calvin, what are you doing with you work for Xamarin? Oh, cool. Look at that. Decryptor works for Xamarin. We got a Xamarin employee in the house. So there you go, Calvin. That's who you go to with all your Xamarin problems. That is very cool. Calvin's been doing a lot of stuff with Xamarin, and we've been talking about it on we're not talking about it exclusively, but we have a podcast. Calvin and I have a podcast called .NET Bytes, and we try to cover all the news and notes from Redmond and around the world. And one of the things we've been emphasizing a little bit lately is Visual Studio for Mac, and also Xamarin, because those are things that Calvin has gotten into recently. And I'll stay. I don't touch those things much these days. I stay on the ASP.NET side, .NET Core side. So Decryptor works on the Xamarin Android Designer in VS and VS Max. There you go. We've probably talked about some of the stuff you've done on our podcast. Certainly, I think I vaguely remember us talking about an Android Designer release or an update in Visual Studio for Mac. So that's cool. Serendipitous. Okay, so I'm going to take this route out of here. We don't need it anymore, I assume, because we have this annotation. AFK, got a meeting for a little bit. That's cool. Thanks for stopping by, Decryptor. And where was this? This was, got to add this in. And these pluses, those. So it's like a comment. So like in the .NET world, you would have a little like thing like this. But I don't. That's a .NET annotation or C# annotation. It's probably slightly different for Visual Basic. But for PHP, I guess you don't have that syntax. So instead we have this little comment block looking thing. So I'm just kind of curious, is that still going to work? Okay, still working. You can see there, I'm refreshing, getting my lucky number. Is there anything about this comment? What's the magical part? Like if I adjusted it like this, would it still work? Okay, we got an exception, so no is the answer to that. So gotta keep it like that, I guess. I was thinking that maybe it was just this @route, and then it could parse that. Interesting, comment blocks as annotation. I've seen this before in PHP, not as like for routing, but in like type hints. So if you have like a parameter here, like in PHP, it's dynamically typed, right? So I can pass whatever I want to for the parameter. But I may want to give a hint. Rick, that guy, Rimy. Thanks for stopping in, Rimy. /*/ is comment, /*/ is annotation. Okay, So if I did this, would that work? Nope. Did not work. Did I mess something up? That's a different error than I got last time. Uh-oh. Oh, because I put that parameter in there. Maybe that's what it was. Try this again. Okay, there we go. So what if I just did this? So it's 2 stars. I kind of want to keep this a little more concise is what I'm getting at. Okay, so that's perfect. That's exactly what I need. So 2 stars is an annotation. So it looks like a comment, but it's not a comment. Hopefully that's what you're telling me, Rhymer CYBLE. Thank you for dropping in. Hopefully you can give us a pronunciation guide for your name as well. But thank you for that information. That's very helpful. Are you a Symphony user by any chance? Or is this just something that is used by other frameworks or PHP in general? Okay, auto installing recipes. Okay. 2 special things happened. It's an alias. It resolves to Sensio. Is that what actually happened? Sensio, yep, okay, cool. All right, bin command console, debugger, all right. I mean, at this point, I'm pretty comfortable with this as a web framework. The only thing I'd be worried about would be templating, which I think is where we're going to next, rendering templates. So if you're returning HTML, I definitely do not want to have inline HTML like this. Symfony comes with Twig. Okay, so this depends on your color scheme, or your IDE should be able to show comments in different colors than annotation. Okay, it looks like Visual Studio Code is not doing that. Now, I do have a PHP extension, I believe, on here. I have PHP IntelliSense, but maybe I need an additional one for PHP. I've got, it's recommending a couple other things. You need a different one for better highlighting. But still, it's very helpful to know the syntactical difference there. So appreciate that. And I'd rather not write routes if I don't have to. But some situations you might want to. Okay. But let's go on to templating. So I'm very interested in this. So Twig is the templating language that's easy, powerful, and actually quite fun. So it's a separate package. That's interesting. I did a full install. You'd think that would come with Twig, and maybe it does. Let's just try installing Twig here. You made one project in Symfony, but you prefer Laravel. Fair enough. So I did. If you weren't in the stream earlier, I actually showed. I have a Laravel example running. I've been following a Laravel course on Pluralsight. I have a friend here, developer community friend here, who's a Laravel user as well. So, so far I haven't made up my mind which I like better, and I haven't, actually doing a hello world is different than actually taking an app to production. So, I don't know if I can fully form a useful opinion yet, but I'm seeing a lot of things about Symfony that I like. Laravel feels a lot like ASP.NET Core MVC to me, so I like that part of it as well. But so far, well, we'll see how this goes. So we've got Twig installed. This is Symfony Twig Pack, and it's got to extend a base controller. Oh, interesting. Okay, so let's go back over to Visual Studio. Another use statement. So I assume this is kind of like the equivalent of using in .NET. And we're going to extend abstract controller. So this is something, if you're from the Java world or .NET world, I believe it's the difference here is you use a colon to extend or inherit. In PHP, it's extends is the keyword. So abstract controller. Now use the handy render function to render a template. Pass it a number of variables so you can use it in Twig. Okay. So instead of having HTML there, I'm going to say use this Twig template instead. and pass in number. And why would I do that? There's lots of reasons why you'd want to use a template instead of inline HTML. Separation of concerns, I guess, kind of is one of them. Testability is another one, and there's lots of other reasons. Okay, where was I? Okay, so now template files live in the templates directory. That makes sense, which was created for you automatically when you installed Twig. Okay, I didn't notice that, but we can go back here and see that that is the case. There's templates. Create a new templates lucky directory with a new number HTML Twig file inside. What was the templating language in Laravel called? I think it was it Blade or something like that? Number HTML Twig inside Lucky. Blade. Okay, I was right. I'm losing my train of thought. Lucky directory. So new folder, Lucky. And then we're going to create a file called number HTML Twig. Oops, number.html.twig. Okay, yep, I figured this would happen. It's going to suggest that I look for a file for Twig. So here, or a extension for Twig. So Twig syntax highlighting. Let's go ahead and install that. Why not? Okay, and then I'm just going to copy this template over. It looks a lot like Blade so far. It's got sort of this double curly brace syntax. This is a comment, I assume, which is single curly brace and pound, or hash, or number sign, however you call it. Okay, and let's see if that works. Oh, look at that. It's working. So I could add more HTML here. Warm Ipsum. I don't have to change the controller, and I can just refresh this, and there we go. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with this. I mean, so far Symfony hasn't made any comment saying it's an MVC framework, but this feels very much like an MVC framework to me. This is the view, obviously, and this is the controller, and the model. Then I'm going to just assume, going on a limb here, that's like Cake PHP and like Laravel, Symfony also has its own ORM, which we haven't got to yet. But I'm pretty happy with this tutorial here. This is a really nice step-by-step getting started guide. What I especially appreciate about this is that it doesn't assume I'm on Linux, it doesn't assume I'm on Mac. It doesn't, and it all works fine on Windows. And I didn't have to fuss with anything. The Symfony web server just sprung right up for me. So I can see why this is a very appealing framework. So very happy with that. Great. So I might start watching some Pluralsight videos on Symfony as well and see how that works. Now, what I'm certainly curious about doing is, because I work for Couchbase, is getting PHP to talk to Couchbase and getting Symfony to communicate with Couchbase or Laravel to communicate with Couchbase. And let's see which of those is going to be, are those going to be very similar processes, or are they is one going to support a NoSQL, operations better than others? And the whole reason I did this in the first place was because if I go to the GitHub for Symfony, this is kind of a celebration today of a pull request that came in, or that was finalized today, if I can find it here, to add Couchbase as a cache adapter to Symfony. So when we get into caching, when I get into caching with Symfony, I could plug in Couchbase to use as the back for my caching. And this is certainly one of the use cases that Couchbase does well, is a highly scalable, highly performant distributed caching. And so it's great that a framework like Symfony would have built-in support for that in Symfony. So that's really great. Okay, so I think I'm going to call it a day with the stream. It's been a little bit of a long morning so far. This is a kind of a shorter stream, but we're going to end on a high note today. And I should be back again on Thursday afternoon at 1:30. So right now, let's look at someone to raid. We're going to look at my team here, Live Coders team, and see who else is out there. Later, Brosef, if you are a subscriber and you want to go over in the raid, make sure to hit Calvin's head there. And just copy and paste that, basically. Otherwise, just you can just put a little bit of raid spam in the chat there. We say rated C# Fritz last time, so maybe we can go over to Codephobia this time. Haven't been to Codephobia in a while, so let's go over there. Doing some project management. Ooh, sounds exciting. So thank you for joining me today. I'll see you over there in Codephobia's channel for a little while, and I'll see you again Thursday afternoon, 1:30 p.m. That's Eastern U.S. time. All right. Thank you for joining me today.
Okay, so then, yeah, that updated. Weird, right?